Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ahmed Elmeligy and today I'll be talking about my experience living in China for the summer of 2017. I'll be sharing as well how easy it is for college students to land international internships all across the world while they're still in school. But before we get going, if you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing. In this channel, I talk about my perspective on different things in life and my experiences in the hopes to teach you something that you don't have to learn the hard way. So before I talk about how I spent the summer of 2017 in China, I would like to go back even further and talk about why I chose to live in China and how you as a college student can do something similar for free or even get paid for it. So I'll go back to December of 2016. At that point, I was finishing off my one-year internship in oil and gas in Edmonton, Alberta. And as I made my way back to Ottawa to go into my second semester, third year, I realized that I wanted to do something different. I wanted to travel. I didn't want to do another internship in Canada. I knew the upcoming summer of 2017 I would have an opportunity to do another internship. So I started looking online and seeing what are my options as a chemical engineering undergraduate. And I was surprised to find out that there's a plethora of opportunities to go to Germany, France, India, China, Argentina, Brazil, so many countries. Most of these placements, they either paid you or was at least free. Where by free I mean travel and expenses were paid for. So when I started asking around, I was told, yeah, this is very real and there's a lot of scholarships available every single year for undergraduate university students to travel all around the world to do some research, and it's really up to us to make use of it based on a recommendation from one of my professors that has worked with a professor over in Tianjin University, and she highly recommended that I go over there and work with him as well. So that's why I spent the summer of 2017 in China. I was looking for something different, and if you're in the similar position, let me know in the comment section below and I'll share some of the resources that I've came across to secure international internships. So that takes us to the summer of 2017. I landed in Beijing on May 8th. That wasn't my final destination. My final destination was Tianjin, which was a 2.5-hour bus ride away. And that's where I'm going to be spending the next 3.5 months doing research in the new campus of Tianjin University, which was just outside of the city. It's quite interesting how dorms work in China. So all international students are put in one dorm, while all the Chinese nationals are spread out across the campus. So I was lucky that I got to meet a lot of people from different cultures and different nationalities that were attending Tianjin University from my dorm, which was a pretty cool experience. And through my lab, I got to meet a whole bunch of master's and PhD students who were working on something similar to me, which was more of a material-based chemical engineering laboratory. I was working on fabricating superhydrophobic membranes for membrane distillation. It was pretty cool stuff that I wasn't really exposed to prior to going to China. So I was very lucky to get that experience and to learn from people that have been doing this for many, many years, and I was fortunate in that sense. I should mention as well, there was a group of us from University of Ottawa that decided to spend the summer of 2017 in Tianjin doing some research. Some of us were in the old campus, which is downtown Tianjin, while the majority of us were in the new campus, which is just outside of the city, and that's where I was at too. The new campus is so outside of the city, and there isn't much to do around the campus itself, unless you take a taxi ride or a bus ride somewhere. I really got to know folks that were in my lab, the master's and PhD students, and I really got to know my neighbors in the international dorms, which was pretty cool. I had a lot of time to bond and form long-lasting relationships. And I'm so lucky because I'm still in touch with a lot of people that I met in China, which was an awesome experience to get to know all of you, if you're watching. I don't know if you are. So I'll talk a little bit about how I spent my day. Usually I was in the lab from 8 in the morning till 4 p.m., Monday to Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday were our weekend. Usually on the weekend, by Friday evening or Friday afternoon, we would take a bus to downtown Tianjin. That's where there was a lot more activities, stuff to do, festivals, street markets, and we would catch up with our friends that were in the downtown campus. And usually we would do that on Friday and Saturday. And then on Sunday, I would sit back and chill, read a little bit, and get ready for the week. The one thing that I liked about being in a campus by itself, outside from talking to people and getting to know people, other pastime was eating and hitting the gym. So it's fair to say that I put on quite a bit of muscle when I was in China, so I was happy about that as well. The professor that I was working with, he was extremely supportive of me exploring China and making sure that I not only work in the lab, but as well get to experience the Chinese culture, tradition, history, and travel in China. So we talked initially about what is it that he requires from me to deliver when I was there, and I worked hard to make sure that I'm able to fulfill all the deliverables that were assigned to me. But at the same time, out of the 3.5 months that I had in China, I had approximately 4 or 5 weeks of travel time. Given that I finished all that I needed to do in the lab, I was free to do whatever I wanted, and I maximized my travel time in China. In my head at the time, I was like, you know what, Ahmed, you never know if you're ever going to get a chance to be out here again in China, so experience the country as much as possible. So I was lucky. I got to see Beijing, I got to see Tianjin, I got to see Hohhot, which is in Inner Mongolia, I got to see Shanghai, Huangzhou. So it was a very eye-opening experience. Future videos, I plan to talk a little bit more about all these different cities and different provinces that I've been to, but I was extremely lucky to have had that experience. The only downside of going to all the places that I've been to, I just discovered that there's so much more that I want to see in China. Honestly, if I were to spend 3 months just traveling around the country, I don't think I would even get a chance to see all that I know that I want to see now. So that's the only downside. There's many more trips to be done in the future back to China. I do foresee myself at some point living there as well. I just love the culture, I love the language, so would like to experience that again and really immerse myself in the Chinese culture again. Now as I self-reflect and think about my experience in China, overall it was an awesome experience. I got to experience the culture, the people, the traditions. I just fell in love with everything about China. I even at some point I convinced myself that as soon as I'm done with university I should go back and learn Mandarin and try to practice engineering over there. I really liked being there, I enjoyed it. I then later on in life there was other things that made me decide otherwise and not to go back, but maybe that's something we'll talk about in a future video. But overall the experience has been quite amazing. I think the one thing that stood out to me the most was the patience that everybody showed me. I didn't speak Chinese. I had to rely on Google Translate to get around and talk to people. And what really stood out to me is that people took the time to understand what I wanted to say, to help me. They were very keen on helping, and they're very proud in helping too. Which really reminded me of a lot of what I used to see when I was in Egypt, when I saw Egyptians treating tourists. Same ideas, that people are keen on helping and keen on being there for others. And it's okay not to have somewhere to go. It's okay not to be in a rush all the time. And that's typically what you get in most African and Asian countries, that sense of hospitality and generosity with time. I really like that. It's part of who I am. Growing up in Saudi Arabia, that's how we treated tourists as well. That's how we treated people that weren't from the country. We would always give them our attention and time to try to help them out. So you'll get that in China too, even though there is a major language barrier, especially if you're outside of the major cities. So once you leave Tianjin, once you leave Beijing and you start going to the smaller towns, you will start noticing that language barrier. But to be honest, I can't say that at any point I found it hard to do anything, just because everybody was willing to help. And made it that much easier to get around and try different stuff. So I highly recommend that if you ever get a chance to go to China, please don't get discouraged from the language barrier. It's absolutely fine. Something else that stood out to me was the long history of Islam in the country. I would be walking around in different parts of the country and I would see mosques with long history of when they were built, why they were built, who built them. Opportunity to pray in almost every city that I went to, and I met a lot of Chinese Muslims who did speak a little bit of Arabic, which is quite fascinating because I didn't know that history existed, and that's something to be extremely proud of, the Islamic history in China. And thirdly, the food. I probably can have a whole video on food. The one thing that I did figure out is that I love oolong tea. I actually never tried it before I went to China, and when I was there, that's all I drank. And then when I came back to Canada, I did find oolong tea, and I still drink it to today. So overall, my experience has been extremely positive. I look forward to going back, experiencing the culture and language again, and getting a chance to visit all the places that I have not yet. It is a beautiful country with beautiful people, and I highly recommend, if you have the opportunity to travel to China, please take it. Especially if you're an undergraduate university student. It's unbelievable how many scholarships are out there, what opportunities are available for you to travel, and most of the time it's either free or you get paid to do it. So for instance, if I look back at my own experience, I think I got paid $6,000, which was a scholarship from the University of Ottawa. I ended up spending like $2,500, including travel, residence, everything. And I came back with more money than I left. So it's an awesome experience. You should maximize on it if you're still in university, especially now that we're coming out of COVID and there's going to be more and more opportunities to travel. Highly recommend that you look into an international experience. It's something that you'll never regret. I remember when I finished it and I was looking for jobs after I finished my undergraduate degree in chemical engineering. One of the things that interviewers constantly ask me about, tell me more about China. What did you do in China? It does stand out. It's different. Not everybody gets to travel. Not everybody gets to work in a different culture. So I highly recommend that you do that. And that's it for today's video. Thank you all for joining me. I hope you enjoyed my talks about China. Please let me know in the comment section below if there's anything about China that you would like me to expand on, talk about a little bit more. I'm more than happy to do that. I hope to make a couple of more videos about China, but I'll ask for your help to guide me through what to talk about next. I'll see you in the next video, and goodbye for now.